Welcome to A Matter of Music. I'm Wisner-Johnsen.
And I'm Beth Wisner-Jahnsen.
And we are partners and sisters. And we are here to provide a unique space for musicians to gather tools, ideas, and education to help master this crazy business of music. So today we're going to be going over cover songs and some of the things that you need to know. I'll start out. Why do you want to do a cover song? So many reasons, right? And some of you know already, but maybe you have friends that you want to do one for. Recently, my son did a cover for me. My favorite band back in the day was Chicago, all the way back to Transit Authority. And he did Beginnings and Color My World for me for Mother's Day. It was awesome. And so, you might have somebody that you want to do a cover like that. And when you do it as a musician, you're thinking, wait, do I just send this to mom, or should I put this up somewhere because mom wants it up? I want to be able to go keep listening to it. So that would be a reason. YouTube, driving traffic. Many musicians do covers because it helps them drive traffic to their site. Then they see their original songs and they become fans. We have a good friend that we were around when she was born, and she did this in the industry and now is a big star. And that was one of the ways that she was able to gather a following. So we know, sometimes you think, oh, that doesn't always happen, but it can happen. And videos do go viral, and
nothing always happens.
No, yes.
Sometimes it works for somebody and sometimes it doesn't. So
right. And if you just happen to have one that goes viral, you need to be ready. So marketing needs to be ready. But that is another very good reason to do a cover. And many other musicians will say, why am I doing covers? I'm not going to make any money on all this. We'll explain some avenues that you can, but a lot of times it's not just about the money anymore. It used to be. We used to be able to sell our CDs and make money in a lot of different ways, but everything has changed.
Well, you can still record covers for CDs and for streaming and make a little bit of money on it if you want to.
It's true. And Beth's going to go over a little bit how you can do that. Let's talk about just a couple other ways. As she just said, albums or streaming. You may want to actually put a cover on your EP. We also have friends. I keep bringing up friends and examples, but we have a friend who released an album and they did a cover of a Doors song, and somebody reached out to them to put that in their catalog so that they could shop that out for TV and film. So they're very excited about signing a 1-year, deal with a company that does this, and maybe they'll get a placement out of that. So that's
really cool. There's somebody else we've worked with before, Michael Rowe. He wanted to put out an album, and I don't know if he was too busy to record 10 songs or to write 10 songs rather, but he wanted to do an album of covers. And so he did a full album of covers, and he has a fan base that will go in there and buy that. So for him, he didn't have to spend the time writing all of the songs and everything. He had to pay a little bit, which we'll get into in a minute. But for him, it was something for his fans that he could do a little bit faster.
Right. Yeah, you need a license for many of these that I just talked about. Actually, for friends, if you're going to put it up somewhere, YouTube, albums, and streaming, yes, you do need a license for that. On sync opportunities, we can talk about that later. If you're doing them specifically for sync, you don't necessarily need to license it if you're not going to put it up somewhere, if you're just going to be pitching. So that's another scenario. But Beth's going to now dive in to
the fun part.
Some of the things.
Yeah. It's the business of music that we talk about. You need to know some of the business aspects. And for that, I'm sorry, but you do. So there are several types of licenses. There's mechanical license, which is to record the audio. If you, if you write a song, somebody wants to record it, it's a mechanical license for them. If the song has been released in the past, you can get a compulsory mechanical license. It is copyright law that if it has been released to the public, and it's not like dramatic work, so it hasn't been only released in a movie or only released on television. If it's been released for consumption for the public, then you can get a compulsory mechanical license, and you have to pay for that, but they cannot deny you that. You have to go through the process. It's not very complicated. And just pay them a little fee for depending on how many you are recording.
You're calling that a compulsory license?
Well,
Beth?
the mechanical license is what attaches to the recording the audio.
Got it.
Synchronization license is when you attach audio to video. So when you attach audio to a moving video, that's a synchronization license. A mechanical license is just the audio portion of it. So basically, if you sign with a record label, you're giving them a mechanical license for your songs and, all of that. A compulsory mechanical license, which is the same thing basically, but they put the word compulsory in front of it because that you are compelled to allow other people to re-record, to do covers of your songs that have been released to the public. That is U.S. copyright law. So it's called compulsory mechanical license, is basically the same license.
Right.
It's
So
9.1 cents for a CD, and
anyone can cover
anything
that's been put out. Okay.
And we'll get into how you can't, not necessarily changing it. So if you want to, and you don't have to go to the songwriter or the person that owns the publishing, luckily, because you would never get it. You can go through these companies that we'll talk about in just a minute to get the license, because you don't want to have to go, if you want to record Imagine, you don't want to have to go to Yoko Ono's people or, whoever owns that catalog. So, there's a agency.
Would Yoko Ono's people get back to you?
No, they don't have time, which is why everybody, because it's the law that you have to give the compulsory license. That's why there are clearinghouses to get those licenses, because record companies, publishers, songwriters, they don't have time to deal with all of us.
Right.
They don't. So that's why we are going to talk about that. Yeah. So basically, let's talk about the mechanical license. There's the biggest name you're going to hear is Harry Fox Agency, and I believe it's harryfox.com. It also is known as HFA. So if you hear people talking about HFA, that's Harry Fox Agency. This is an agency that was started, I believe, about 80 years ago. And they are the biggest clearinghouse for mechanical licenses. Were you going to say something, Dawn?
80 years ago?
I think so. Okay. I could be wrong on that. Maybe I'm getting my numbers wrong, because they have about 80% of the songs. Maybe it was 60.
I see.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time.
It was a long time ago. I'm not exactly sure on the year, but it's the oldest one out there. And they just signed a deal with, I can't remember the name of the Music Modernization Act.
Yes.
Something that passed in 2018, went through Congress, went through hearings, and lots of testimony from Spotify and songwriters and record companies and HFA and all of the PROs were testifying in front of Congress. Basically, desperate people, musicians, were saying, this is too complex, it's too hard to work. And Spotify and all those companies too are saying, we don't know where to go to get the right license, to get the right permission. It's everywhere, because there's 13 or 14 places a musician can get paid. So they're trying to make this better. It's the government. I don't know that it's going to work, because they just gave the biggest contract to get mechanical licenses a system. They gave it to Harry Fox Agency. And Harry Fox Agency is one of the reasons there was hearings.
My goodness. Maybe they're just gonna be over them. Yeah. By the way, thank God for Google. I just Googled, and Beth is right. Actually, longer. They were founded in 1927.
27. Oh, I thought it was 28.
She
questioned me, and I questioned myself.
They were founded by the National Music Publishers Association. Wow. Okay.
Why they are called Harry Fox? I looked that up one time. And I think there was some dude, or I don't know. Okay. Anyways, there was probably two guys named Harry and Fox.
Right.
So you can go to get a mechanical license, say like you want to record for your mom. You want to record a song. You want, to put it on a CD. Unfortunately, you can't just buy for one song. I think the minimum is 25 for most of these. So you'd have to pay $25, but for a mechanical license to put a physical copy on a CD it's 9.1 cents per copy. So it's not that much for $25. But Harry Fox Agency will charge you $16 as their fee for doing
mean
this.
25 copies?
25 copies.
I see.
So you could make 25 CD copies and give them to all your friends. So you want to do a DVD, not DVD because that's sync. You want to do something for your friends for Christmas and give your grandma and everybody, family members, a cover song. You can make 25 copies and get the license at Harry Fox. It'll be 9.1 cents times 25. That's how many you're doing, plus the $16 fee. So that fee goes to Harry Fox for you.
The fee is per song.
It is per song, and it is unfortunately per vehicle. So if you want to stream it, that's one license, $16. If you want to put it on a CD, that's one license, $16. If you want to do digital downloads, $16. Those are all individual licenses. You can ask for sync license through them, but usually a sync license, you're going to have to talk right to the publisher. So, and if you say you make 25 and then everybody wants, you realize, hey, I want to sell this at my shows, you have to go back and get another license. Yes. You would, if you use the 25, you'll have to go back and pay for another 100 or whatever, plus the $16 again. So there is that. There are some other companies. There's Sound Drop. It's a little bit cheaper. There's Easy Sound Listening. There was a company called Louder, and I was chasing that from all these articles 2 years ago, and I think they got bought by CD Baby or something like that, and then they just disappeared. I think I heard Spotify bought them, and I can't figure out what happened to them, but they're gone. So these companies come and go. Some of them are going to charge you less. One of these companies that I was looking at was offering you a special QR code to put on your website or on your CD to show that you do have a license. And then they were giving you a discount if you came back for more licenses of that same album. So do your research. I haven't done it all for you because it's changing too much and I don't have that kind of time. But those are three names: Harry Fox Agency, harryfox.com, Sound Drop, Easy Song Listening. I'm sorry. I'm going to say that again. Easy Song Licensing. So go just Google search those companies or Google search mechanical licenses for covers, and companies will just pop up like crazy.
We will put these in the notes.
We'll put them in the notes below. I would go do a little bit of, and one of the reasons I didn't do any more research is because my research keeps running into that company doesn't exist anymore. These companies come and they go, and the successful ones get bigger and some of them go away. So look at what other people are using as well. There's a lot of people who do reviews of these sites, so you can see which one will work for you. So that would be a cover for, and you're going to need to know some things going in. So say you go to Harry Fox and you are ready to get your license because you're going to record the song and do the license. You should probably actually have recorded the song already. And there's
say you do. I'll use ours as an example, Beth. My son actually did, and this is even more complicated. He did Beginnings and Color My World in one track.
Oh, he put them together.
Yes, he did.
Oh, that's not, well.
Okay. We could
have done that.
No.
You want me to say why? You want me to tell them why?
Yes.
Because you had to get a license for Beginnings and you had to get a license for Color My World.
Yes.
And it's 9.1 cents up to 5 minutes.
Yes.
And after 5 minutes, it goes, I think it's like 1.3 cents or something like that.
Right.
Which is not a big deal for, I'm doing this song for Mom.
Right.
But just know in advance, if you get up to 6, 7, 8 minutes, it's going to cost you 10.5 cents, 11, 12 cents per, that's it for a physical copy, per physical copy.
Right.
For like streaming, like if you put it up on a streaming site just for people to listen to it, not to download it, it's like 1 cent, I believe, for the mechanical license per stream. And you have to guess at how many you're going to have.
Right. So you were beginning to go through the process and I interrupted you. So say you're doing Color My World.
Color My World. So you would want to figure out how you're going to record that, how long. You don't necessarily have to have it recorded, but they're going to ask you how long it is. That's one of their questions. And you have to put that in, you cannot leave that field blank. There are some fields you can leave blank and some you need to put in. They want to know how long it is for, so that they know how much to charge you. But also, I would guess that it would be good to have the length correct before you get the license. That way, if there's an issue with somebody coming back and saying, hey, you're using my song, you can present the license and it shows that the song is the same and you got the license and it's the same length. That's one way. One of the other questions they're going to ask you is for an ISRC code. You don't have to have that, but again, if you have that in advance, then you can also marry that to the license and you won't have any problems. An ISRC code is what you get for like a CD, and it's the way you kind of track it through the system. Dawn, you know more about ISRC codes.
Yeah. Well, what you're saying is, if you put it up somewhere and you have put that ISRC code in with the license, they're going to be married to each other. So say it's on YouTube, it's going to be really easy for you to show that you have the license. Here's the ISRC for this recording, and they, it's all done. It's all done for you. You've done.
Right. It's already ready.
Right. But yeah, ISRCs are very, these days you should have an ISRC for anything you're releasing. It's a nice tracking system.
Yeah. And we'll go into, we'll do a podcast about that kind of minutia as well at some point, because that's not too difficult to do, get ISRC codes. So you're going to search by title of song or by writer. You can't really search by both, at least at Harry Fox. Everything I'm talking about, I just went through the process at Harry Fox. So if you know you want to re-record Human Nature, it's going to ask you the name of the song. You could put in the writer, but if you put in Steve Porcaro and Bettis, you're going to get a bunch of songs. So put in the name of the song and it's going to give you a list. I know because this is the one I tried, Michael Jackson's, right up at the top. But know who the songwriters are so you don't pick the wrong one, because there are about 18 Human Nature songs out there. Now, when you get to that point, at least at Harry Fox, it's going to tell you whether you can license it through them or not. And it'll have a column, it'll say 100%, or sometimes it'll say 0%, which means they don't have that song there. You're going to have to find another way, which we'll get into in a second, to get that license. They don't represent that song. Sometimes they will say 60, 75%, which means you're going to have to get it through Harry Fox and then go to whoever the other songwriter or publisher is who hasn't put their stuff through Harry Fox.
You don't want to do that.
You don't want to have to, but sometimes you do.
But so I would want to check for Harry Fox before I even decided on what cover.
Well, here's the thing. I would check Harry Fox if you want. Harry Fox to me is the simplest way to go because of their system. They've been doing it for years, the way it's set up. This is not I'm not advocating for Harry Fox. They kind of make me squeamish in a couple ways, but they're simple and it's easy to do. But there are companies, like I said, Sounddrop and Easy Song Licensing, and several others that will guarantee 100% of the songs out there, they will get the license for you. So they have made deals and they have other ways that Harry Fox does not have. For that 20% that Harry Fox doesn't cover, those other companies will do that for you. So if you want to go that route, you go through them and they will make sure to get all the sides. Because basically if somebody hasn't made a deal with Harry Fox, then you have to go find their publisher, you have to write them, you have to ask them, and it's just hard. You don't want to have to do that. No. You don't want to have to do that much legwork to do a cover song when you can go to one of these other companies. So kind of do your, do a little bit of research, maybe in advance, just to see which company you want to go with. So say your song is 100% at Harry Fox. You've already created an account, you pick the song, and then they're going to start asking you questions. And some of the questions are going to be, what's the platform? CD, digital download, streaming. There's one other platform ringtone's on there. So if you want to make a ringtone for your phone, or sell it to somebody or whatever, there's a fee for that as well. And then they're going to ask you number of copies. And I believe for physical and for permanent download, it is 25 minimum. And for streaming, it's 100. But it's only a penny, so it's $1 basically for the actual licensing part of it. So you're going to know those numbers. That license for streaming and for downloads is for a year. It's good for a year, which means after a year, if you still want people to be able to listen to it and download it, you're going to have to come back and get another license. So you have to guess.
If it's up on YouTube, you have to renew every year?
YouTube's another issue.
Okay.
Video. It's different. It's a sync license.
We're talking about YouTube another time.
Yes. We're coming to that. It's down
Coming.
below.
Sorry, Beth.
It's later. It's okay.
I'm following along and I'm learning. So
I just want to say this. Dawn and I have been doing this. We've been working in the music industry, each of us, for over 30 years. We have been working with copyright and publishing, and she does admin publishing every day of her life.
yes.
We do sync licensing. We both worked in libraries. We had our own library, and we still forget things because it's so confusing. Yeah. This is why we're doing this for you. Hopefully you're going to learn something. But when we do these, we have to go do research before we come make this podcast because we don't want to make mistakes. That's why the Music Modernization Act is supposed to make things better. I don't have any faith that it actually will. I hope it does. I hope I'm wrong.
But that's why at the beginning, I always say this crazy business of music because it really is. And I'm sorry, guys, but it's kind of, there's other places in the world that are this way where laws are constantly changing.
Yeah, but a good friend of ours, Reggie Ham, amazing songwriter, CSAC Songwriter of the Year, I believe 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
He writes blogs and books, and I highly recommend you go check those out. He also does podcasts and stuff. He wrote something one time, and he said, music is the only thing that is created that the federal government tells you how much you're allowed to charge for it. It is the only thing in America where you can make something and you cannot go out and say, I think this song is worth $1,000 if you want to cover it. You're not allowed to do that. It's 9.1 cents for a CD per song per copy. And that's there's a lot of reasons that is. It's because of the PROs not being good in the 30s and 40s. There's a lot of government interference in the music industry, and for some of it's legitimate reasons, but it is kind of annoying. But that's, anytime you get government involved, it seems to get complicated and difficult. So
sorry, I interrupted.
Sorry, no, that's all right. So
talking about YouTube.
They're going to ask you also if you're going to distribute this in the United States or another country, and you cannot choose both. At least on Harry Fox Agency, you can't, which was surprising to me.
As you can see, I'm surprised too.
Dawn is surprised. Those listening, not watching the YouTube, but listening on the podcast, Dawn's jaw just dropped a little bit. So you need the release date because the term is going to be 1 year for the digital, the streaming and the digital downloads. So I don't know why it's only a year, but you don't have a choice to make it any longer. Let's see, the playtime, the ISRC code, which is, like I said, optional, but I would suggest you have it. And then you have to fill in the license information, which is your company name if you have one, your contact information, your address, all that kind of thing. So if you want a physical CD and a digital download, you're going to have to get 2. If streaming, all of that kind of thing. So that's pretty much it for how to get a mechanical license. Basically, you go to the website and just kind of follow through. But you want to know some things in advance. You want to know the time. You want to know, think about where you're going to release this, how you're going to release this, how many people you think are going to stream it or buy it, because you're going to have to pay in advance. So there's that. Anything to add on that aspect, Dawn?
Oh, I don't think so.
Are you okay? Should I keep going?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
What's next?
Okay. So before we get into the sync license and YouTube, let's talk a little bit about covers for syncing. So there's a sync license if you want to put your song to a video and you want to put it up on YouTube. We're going to get to that in a minute. But there's another aspect of sync that you might be thinking when you're going, I want to record a cover. And that is, I want to record a cover because I think I can do this really weird version or really cool version or almost a sound for sound version of something. And I want to get it to a library who can get it on TV and film for me.
Right.
So let's talk about that
before you go into what I think you're going to go into, a company that could help you with that. But just let me say that in our world right now, and I just heard it again last night. I watch Netflix a lot. Sometimes it's with my parents, so it's not a show I might always watch. But once again, I think I heard 2 covers last night in 2 episodes. So, and I'm watching another show on Netflix where they used a cover 3 different versions, an instrumental,
Whoa.
yes, in 2 different episodes, but it was kind of following a character. And I was like, this is
Wow.
crazy. And that one was I'm a bitch. And
If you are, but
which, yeah, okay, sometimes I can be, but anyway, the song I'm a bitch is what they used, and I thought it was done so well. But what I want to tell you is, in our world right now, if you're watching content, you're going to know there are covers because you recognize the song, but you don't recognize who's singing it. Or it used to be a female singer, now it's a male, or it's just completely different, as Beth said. And this is what music supervisors really love. And this has been going on for a while. We've had some television shows who really did do covers, and they would have the actors every once in a while. And I can't remember, might have been Weeds, that was doing some different things with music and stuff. And so, but they were considered, when they were doing it, it was considered kind of edgy and out there. It's all over the map now. And music supervisors love covers. Let me tell you one reason why. The minute you hear that, you recognize it, and you know, and you tune in a little better. And if you're a music super, just think, if that's your job, you want viewers to go, hey, I really love the music. Yeah, I really.
But when it's a cover, you go, don't I know that song? I've never heard this before,
Right.
though. Why do
And
I know that song?
Yeah, I know you get distracted, because I always do. And you lose whatever dialogue was happening, because they get in the car, something comes on the radio, and you're like, what? And then you're thinking, what is that? And you start Googling. But anyway, music supervisors, this is a very fun part of their job. They want the fans to be totally into the music that they're using, because this is what they do, and it's exciting and fun for them. They like to discover independent artists, and they like to do covers for other artists and all kinds of different things. So one other way that in the music licensing world, it's a lot easier for them to license, possibly. It may be easier for them.
Well, because when you we'll get into that in a second, but when you get a sync license, there's 2 sides that you need to get to marry that to the film. You have to marry the audio to the moving picture. You have the mechanical license, which you have the sync license at that point, which is, I'm going to use this audio, but you have the recording of that as well. Those can be held by 2 different people. So the publishing might be owned by one company, or maybe is still owned by the writer of the band, depending on how old the song is. That's going to be different. And then there's also the master use license, the master recording of that song. So if you want to use, if you want to use a Beatles song, I know that the publishing catalog has been sold a couple of times. Michael Jackson's company owned it at one point. I'm not sure who owns the master recording, if it's still Apple or not Apple, the computer, Apple, the record company, who did sue Apple, by the way, when they came out, just FYI, for using the name. So I don't know if those 2 don't always follow together. So if a record company or a publisher wants to sell some stuff, they're going to sell the publishing, and then the record company owns the sound recording, and you have to, and then there's 2 fees on top of that. And
and music soups will do that. I'm not saying they don't, but and they know how to do that.
Guardians of the Galaxy is one example that made that, didn't make that movie, but it made it for me, because I love Marvel stuff, but I didn't know who Guardians of the Galaxy was. Now that's one of my favorite movies, because I'm a child of the 80s. That was all original covers. Yeah. And it was probably really expensive, but it made the movie, and it was the character, so they had to do it.
Right.
If they can use a famous song, if they're like, I want this song, and I don't think, I think whoever the publisher is will give me the song, but the master use, they're never going to let me use that song. Go get a cover of it.
Right.
If there's a cover available.
A music soup would even Google and see what covers are out there, what different people have done. So covers can be a great way, if you're an independent artist, to get something synced. It might be your first sync. If it goes well and you have everything, you have all it's a one-stop clearance, which we've talked about before, but everything is easy for them to sign and get, they want to do one license with you. You own that recording because you did the cover. You also, this is where, I'm talking about something else now. Here I go. Sorry, guys. In a cover for Music Soups, and this is the one place that you do not have to go get a license.
As long as you don't put it out there to stream or your website.
Say you're going, hey, I'm an independent artist. I'm going to do 5 different covers, and I'm going to see if I can get these either into a cover library that's going to pitch them for me, or maybe a sync agent that you know that can get those out and funnel them out to different people. You don't have to go get the license,
the mechanical license
on that side, right? Because the music supervisors, this is their job, this is what they do. They're going to go again anyway, if that makes sense. So it's not your job, if you're just pitching covers out, to go get those licenses.
So if your purpose in recording a cover is to try to get it synced,
yes,
and you're shopping it yourself or with a music library or with the company I'm about to tell you about, then you don't have to go get the mechanical license.
Right.
As long as you're not putting it out into public for public consumption some way, and then you don't have to worry about the license at that point, because like Dawn said, the people that are syncing it to the TV show or film or game will do that for you. There's a company called mvibe.com. MVIDEBE. I'm dyslexic. I'm so sorry. Vibe, like cool. I got a vibe.com. And they have a library. What? Shut up. I am cool. I almost said when I called you, when I said you're a bitch. No, that's me. That was my nickname. We'll go into that story someday.
Yeah.
Okay. They loved me, the people that gave me that nickname, but that tells you I'm serious when I get to work. Okay. So this mvibe.com has a library, which I wish I had thought of this idea. It is brilliant. It is a cover library. It is just covers. So if a music soup wants to go somewhere for a cover, if I were a music soup, this is the first place I would go, because I went and bopped around in there. There's some covers that, you could go in there and see what covers they have and say, I think I can do a better cover than that. Or it's not even always about the quality. Sometimes they want things that don't sound great because of where they're coming from and the type of thing. But they have some amazing covers. They've got some, that maybe there's room for you to do another cover of Human Nature, Imagine. I keep using those songs because those are the classic ones to me. So anyways, and I think right now, unfortunately, I don't want to say the C word. I'm going to say the vid, because of the vid, because I don't want to get banned, because you're not supposed to say that. My kids tell me. Because of the vid, they're not taking on new people right now. And that's probably going to be a thing right now. Yeah, I didn't tell you that, did I, Dawn?
No, mvibe said that?
mvibe said that. They're not taking on new people. They might still be working with the people that are already doing covers for them. But I believe that's because production has slowed down quite a bit. And they probably are all working from home and doing what they need to do to get the songs and cleared without having to deal. They're probably shut down part way, I'm guessing, something like that. So that will end, So if you want to go ahead and get your covers ready, and if mvibe doesn't want to take your covers, find a music library or a music sync agent that does, or you can shop it yourself. That I really think.
I just want to reiterate, covers are what people are looking for these days, and I'm talking within the last 6 months to a year. I've seen it just ramp up. So,
and maybe you're a great singer, maybe you're a great guitar player, but you're not a great writer. Do covers.
Right.
Covers. If you can produce and engineer, do covers.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to switch over a little bit. So that was to record the audio and put it out there or get it to somebody to try to get it on a show for you. Now we're going to talk about YouTube. YouTube does not make me happy very often. It does when I'm looking for instructions on how to fix my washing machine, but right now I'm a little ticked off at YouTube because this is very confusing. Putting covers up on videos on YouTube. And that's where, when we talk about, hey, this artist that was a friend of ours that we knew since she was born, she was doing all these covers on YouTube with other artists and different things, and that's where she was putting them. And that's what YouTube kind of implied, like, hey, come put your cover here. They don't say it, but they kind of do. So there is a company that will clear a YouTube cover license for you. It's called We Are the Hits, and you can go through them, and they will basically do this work for you, and we'll get back to them in a minute. But I just want you to know there is a way that you can just do it simply without having to go to the process I'm about to tell you, because this is not what I would want to do if I were doing a cover and wanted to put it on YouTube. I would probably just give up, because just trying to find out this information, I wanted to go give up. So the basic way to get a sync license, and this is, mind you, this is just for YouTube. Any place like Vimeo doesn't have deals where you could just, they'll just take it down. They're a professional site. They're for professional videos. They don't have a way to do ads and things that pay the copyright holder. The deal with putting up a cover song is the copyright holder is going to come in and go, hey, that's mine. I didn't give you permission to do it, because a mechanical license won't cover a video, even if it's just over a picture or a lyric video or something. That's still a video. And the copyright holder can come in and say, I want you to take it down. I want you to give me, I'm going to put ads in front of your song and maybe behind it. I'm going to choose the ads, and I'm going to get all the money. Or they can share it with you. They can share the revenue with you. A lot of copyright holders are doing that because they kind of want to encourage people to do covers. Depends on the publisher, but that's one way to do it. So the first way you can go to get a sync license to put something up is through a PRO. So you can go to the Performing Rights Organization. CSAC has a form on their website for requesting a sync license. You can do that if you want to. Good luck with that. I don't know how successful you're going to be. And I don't know, they can, again, this is not a compulsory license. They can say no. They can charge you whatever they want to charge you for that. That's up to them. And you're going to wait 4 to 6 weeks for them. And they're going to, when you fill out the form at the bottom, it says, you know, what are you going to use this for? And you got to have all that information. So you're going to wait to get that from CSAC. Right. BMI and ASCAP, basically, you're going to use that platform to find the publisher's email. You have to find the song, make sure it's the correct writer, email the publisher. I would have as much information as you can, but make it as succinct as you can as well. And again, I am not thinking you're ever going to hear back from this person. But if you really are adamant about trying this, put in all the information, the song information, the IPI number from BMI and ASCAP, all that information about the song and about how you're going to use it, how many people are going to see it, all that kind of stuff. You may or may not hear back from them. The other PRO is GMR.
Can I just say something before you get into GMR?
Yeah.
She might have mentioned there might be more than one publisher in the commercial world.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's 2, 3, 4, even up to 10.
You are, if you have a, yeah, because, okay, say the Eagles wrote a song together, the 4 of them, 5 of them, however many were in the band's time. They all wrote the song together. They could each have a different publisher.
And usually do.
And you're going to have to go to each and every one of those to get permission for the sync license. This is why I'm telling you to do this, how to do this, but don't do it.
No.
It's a waste of your time.
This is publishing world. This is how this works.
Yeah. So the other one is GMR. Speaking of the Eagles, they're not, I don't think their band is with them, but several of the writers are with them. This is the newest PRO, and they are really small, and they are the big boys, and it's by invitation only. And they're looking at, you know, there's a place on there that says obtain a license from them. And if you're a big movie or something, you know, maybe if you're even a small movie, but if you want to do a YouTube license, they're not going to answer you. And yeah. I don't blame them. Any of these people, they don't have time for this.
No, and I'm just looking up, I just, again, Googled right here, Drake, Bruno Mars, Bruce Springsteen, Leon Bridges. There's just a few right there. That GMR.
John Lennon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the other way is to get your license through YouTube. There is no place to just go to YouTube and say, hey, I want to put up a cover song. This is basically, you have to violate copyright law and hope for the best. And this is what YouTube tells you to do. This is why I am very protective of copyright and copyright. I'm very protective of people who create something and then other people steal it. I don't like that. I think they should be able to be paid. And basically YouTube right here is saying, we're not going to help you much. You can do this, but the risk you take in doing what I'm about to tell you to do is that you could lose your YouTube channel. Theoretically, if you were putting up 5 or 6 copyright cover songs, you could get dinged 3 times and lose your channel. So that's the risk you're taking. But a lot of publishers do want to, they know that covers can generate some traction and can generate some income and can, I have kids, my oldest is 23. They love music from my age, my time when I was a teenager and before. They love music, Louis Armstrong. They love that kind of stuff. And they find it in covers and things too, from video games and stuff. So it is a way to market yourself. So basically YouTube says, put up your video, and when they have something called digital ID that crawls through YouTube, and it's like it's alive. That's why I say it crawls through YouTube, and it finds, because publishers have gone to YouTube and said, here's my copyrighted information, and they've got an AI that looks at it and says, this is what that song is, and then the AI goes and looks for it. And when the AI finds songs that they think are that, they bring them back and say, hey, there's one of your songs. Does the person have a license? Probably not. So then that publisher, YouTube is going to send you a notice and say you violated copyright. And if you're lucky, the publisher will say, hey, you know what? That's pretty cool. Thanks for doing that. Let's share the royalties. Let's share not the royalties, but the ad revenue that's going to come, because they're going to put ads on your video. So sometimes you'll see an ad on a video of a little song and you're thinking, how did this person get to monetize their YouTube channel? They may not. It may be that the publisher is the one monetizing it. So they may share it with you. They may take all of the ad revenue themselves. And the other third option is they can tell you to take it down. And
can I go back to what you just said, because that's not something many people know. Very good point, Beth. You have to have 1,000 subscribers, I believe, to monetize through YouTube.
1,000 or 4,000 or something like that.
It's a very high.
And a lot of hours watched.
A lot of hours watched.
I don't know how many it is, but
YouTube. However, what you just said is, if you do get dinged and a publisher wants to share, you can have a song that is on your YouTube channel that is being monetized because that company came and said, hey, this is what we're going to do.
And yesterday when I watched that Zoom meeting that you couldn't go to, Dawn, I wrote it down and I don't have my notes in front of me. Sorry. Oh. There are companies that are taking smaller channels and making groups out of them. And they are doing, making kind of a main channel that these channels are under to help monetize smaller people. So that's a new thing that's just started. Yeah, I know. It's it could be good, it could be bad. I don't know. So let's say that YouTube goes to the publisher and the publisher says, take it down, because there are some songs, if you go look for them on YouTube, you're not going to find them. So you'll know which ones. And that's one way to find out. Also, if you want to do a little research, if you think you're going to get dinged with a violation or not, because if they tell them to take it down, that's a violation against you. And that's 1 strike. If you get 3 strikes, YouTube will do one of 2 things. They will demonetize you if you are monetized, which takes a lot of work to get all those followers and hours, or they might take your entire channel down if you continue to violate copyright law, which is why I get frustrated with YouTube, because there is no way in advance to ask YouTube, hey, I want to put up this cover song. Can you put it through Content ID? Ask the publisher if it's okay, and I'll let them take all of the money. There's no way to do that. And when I was watching the Zoom yesterday, that's one of the things they were talking about, like, why? One of the reasons is that's not YouTube's job. They're a platform. They don't spend time on dealing with copyright infringement. They basically, if somebody comes to them and says, that's mine, YouTube errs on the side of somebody that claims copyright, and they will take it down. They make mistakes. They do that. My children tell me horror stories sometimes. They don't want to have to deal with all of this minutia, because that's not what YouTube and Google, that's not what they're in it for. So they're benefiting from it, but they're kind of dropping the ball at the same time and saying, hey, that's not our fault. It's a platform. So just so you know that in advance, there's some risk to just putting it up on YouTube. The other option is to go with the company like we talked about, which is We Are the Hits. There may be other companies out there. That's the one I'm more familiar with. they will do the clearances for you, and they will do it and get it monetized. And I believe, looking at my notes, I'm sorry here. You have to earn like $100 before you'll get paid for it, which with the percentage they're going to pay you it's going to take you forever.
Take a percentage.
So the copyright holder will take a percentage, and they are going through all of the publishers, and they're doing the work for you, which is a benefit to you. It's a benefit to the publisher. It's a benefit to YouTube, in my opinion, that this company exists. So they'll go to the publishers and deal with all that, make sure that it's okay. Then they're going to take a portion of the split. So the publisher's going to take a portion. Mm-hmm. We Are the Hits is going to get a portion, and they're going to split it with you.
Right.
What you're going to get per view is 0.0004 cents. So to get a penny, you have to have how many? Is it 250 play? It's
yeah.
You're not going to make any money.
No, and I would just say
you're not doing it to make money.
We discussed at the beginning, right? You're not really doing covers to make money as an artist.
Not on YouTube.
Not on YouTube. If those covers are bringing some people in, and they will listen to, they'll subscribe and they'll listen here and there to other things, it's good for you. So it works. And We Are the Hits sounds like, if I was going to do one today, that's how I would go, because Beth just said they're taking care of everything, and I don't have to worry about what you said earlier about YouTube, of just throwing it up there and seeing if I'm going to get a ding on my channel. I mean, not if
you've worked a long time for your channel, right. And you've got, some people have videos going back 8-10 years who have lots of views and stuff. So, you can do it through YouTube and just hope for the best. And like I said, if you do a little bit of research and you see the song you want to record, go look for it on YouTube. See how many people have that song up, and go click on some and see if there's an ad in front of it. And if they have, if they have 500 or 1,000 views and there's an ad in front of it, the publisher's monetizing that. That's not the person who's got, if you go to their channel and they only have, 100 followers, they're not monetizing it, because that's not how YouTube works. So that's would be, my first suggestion. Hey, I want to record XYZ. Go Google search YouTube. By the way, YouTube is the second largest search engine behind Google, who owns them. It's kind of weird, but anyways. So go do your due diligence, and kind of, you can kind of guess at that point if you're going to be able to do it and not get a ding. But again, I'm not suggesting that you put up anything in violation of copyright law. I would never tell you to do that. Mm-hmm. So
yes,
that's your choice. Okay. Is there anything else?
You have a lot of notes here. I am going to put some of these in our notes. I'm going to not forget that, by the way. I'm making a big note for myself.
Okay.
Because there's derivative works there.
There's derivative works. I was going to say, we didn't really talk about derivative works. Let me just tell you what the term means.
Yeah.
So we talked about mechanical license before. So that's when I want to re-record Human Nature. I'm going to keep the melody. I'm going to keep the lyrics. I'm not going to change any of those or add to it. That's a compulsory mechanical license. Now you say, I want to start with the melody of it. I want to use a few of the words, and then I'm going to add a verse. That's a derivative work. That is not a compulsory license. You have to get permission for that. And they do not have to give it, because it is their work. They have moral rights. That's something that's very, moral rights are something that's very European. That's a term that they use, but you do have moral rights, which means you have the right as the creator of something, a sculpture, a song, or whatever, not to have it changed, tainted, the meaning of it. People can't change it just because they own it, because you're the artist. So if you do want to make a derivative work, you're going to have to contact the publisher and probably the writers as well.
Let me mention again that if you're doing a derivative work, it's probably something that's very popular, and you need to know there's going to be a lot of people who have ownership on that song in so many of the different ways. And yes, we've, in some of the work I've done with some artists that are commercial artists, it's not easy to do. It's not easy to get this permission. So I'm just telling you.
You deal with that every week, right?
I kind of do sometimes, yes. And even if this person is well known, you know, say there's 3 people that wrote it, and one of them's an artist, 2 others are major songwriters out of Nashville or whatever, you know, it's, you got to get all these people to agree. And just imagine when, here's an example. Say you want to get your family together. You send out a group email to all the people involved. Do they all answer you? No.
No, none of the men ever answer you.
Just think of the music business in that way. If you want to find out from all of these writers and you're just thinking, oh, they're all going to say, hey, how you doing? Yeah, let's do this. No.
Because the other question you have to understand is, why would they care what you want to do?
Yeah.
They might make a little bit of money on it, but they don't, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell my derivative work fair use story.
Right.
So
I'm not saying they wouldn't be in the case of commercial artists. Commercial artists do this back and forth.
No, but I'm saying it's not a high priority for them.
It isn't.
Because they're busy. They're doing stuff. They're really busy. So you can't assume that somebody, you know, is as into your project as you are.
Right.
Because generally they're not. So 1992, Two Live Crew decided they wanted to use Roy Orbison's "Oh Pretty Woman," and they went to the label and said, or the publisher, and they said, hey, we want to do a version of Pretty Woman. And Roy Orbison's people said no, because, you know, Two Live Crew is also the ones that got the explicit. They're one of the premier people that got the explicit thing on the CDs. So, you know, Roy Orbison's like, I don't want my song with that. That's his right. They went ahead and did it anyways. So they recorded a song. The beginning part is the bass line. You recognize it. They use the first part of the first verse, and they go off and they release it, and it goes up the charts. And Roy Orbison's people sue. It wasn't Roy Orbison. It was the label. So they sue. It goes all the way up to the Supreme Court in 1992. This is a derivative work that they asked permission for and were denied, and did it anyways. Then they turn around and they say, well, that we didn't have to get a license from him because it's not a derivative work. It is a parody. Now, fair use says there's some things you don't have to get permission for. If somebody is doing a, movie comes out and they show a little bit of it, or they show the poster and they're talking about, it was a terrible movie, it was a great movie. If somebody's
like in the news,
right, if they're doing commentary on it, if they're teaching about it in a class, they can use a little portion of it without having to get permission from the copyright holder for, using that. There are certain fair use things. Parody, I don't know if it was in there before, but Two Live Crew got it in there. It was a unanimous decision in 1992 by the Supreme Court that said this is a parody and that is fair use. And Two Live Crew got away with it.
Right.
They ended up settling out of court because it went back down to the, lower courts. But just to be clear, things are changing. Things are always changing. Before Two Live Crew, that wasn't a thing. Right. Now it is. But
let me just say, whether Roy Orbison was going to get paid in some way for that song, for being.
I don't know how that works, but I don't know how that works.
Okay.
I don't, because somebody like Weird Al, he's going to go ask people
right
for the licenses. He doesn't, that was his whole career. He didn't want to offend people. He was going to get that in advance. Just basically being denied a license and then doing it anyway.
Right.
They ended up sharing the royalties. But yeah, I would imagine he would have, either way, the record company would have gotten some of the royalties. They could have just sued for some of the royalties if they weren't giving them to them. So if you do a derivative work and you write, and you use a tiny portion of somebody's song, they can ask you for whatever they want. If you say, but that's only 20% of the song I redid and it doesn't sound anything like it, they don't have to accept 20%. They can say, I want 90%. They can say, I want 100%. They can say whatever they want because it's not yours to use.
And I will say that I have seen that happen as well, where it probably should have been 10 or 20% and the person asked for 50. And if they wanted to put it out, they had to give them, and they did. Because you can't steal other people's stuff. Right. And it was recorded and it was, So, figure those things out beforehand. I would say.
Yeah, I would before you
Yeah.
put too much time into it. Yeah, but anyways, that's we kind of hit on a lot of things.
Yes, you
Covers
did.
are good. That's I think that's the main point we started with, and that's
There,
the main point we're
yes,
ending
there are many great avenues for covers. You just need to educate yourself and make sure you know what avenue you're doing, where you need to go. And as I keep saying, we will have some notes in this episode because it's hard to keep up sometimes. But and I think we found, Beth, we might have some other things to talk about in the future on some of this, but because she's
It
got a
seems
lot.
to never end.
It does. And it will be a moving target, right? Yeah. As
Yep.
she just said, we'll have to go research it again in a year and see where we've gone.
Yep,
So,
because YouTube will, I guarantee you, YouTube will change how you put up a cover on YouTube.
right. And as always, if you guys have any questions, please go to our website. If you know, want to talk to us one-on-one, we can consult with you on something if you need the help, and we're always here. So we appreciate you listening. And this is A Matter of Music saying thank you very much.